cisnormativity. E.g., the author created a trans character that fit the cisnormative beauty standards for a woman.
Okay, so I wonder, let's see, the normalizing of being cisgender regarding transgender as an abnormality. The concept applies to behaviors as well as bodies. For example, a trans man may not want a phalloplasty because a trans man. Okay, so like, let's say I feel like I'm a gay man in a woman's body, and I know that, but I don't want to have a penis. So that phalloplasty is like what I just said. I can't believe I said it on radio, but I did, folks. So I don't know if I'll lose my show or not, but I don't think that's a bad word since that's describing sexually phalloplasty, because surgical results will not look cisnormative enough for his comfort. So if I wanted to have a sex change, sort of, put it in layman terms. So the denial of the fan theories about pop culture characters' trans status is an act of cisnormativity. All these kids today are coming up with all these words that help everybody, because there's an exception to every rule, apparently, in this new creation of world, that we're not just welcoming. We are welcoming. This is the thing we're trying to talk about on this radio show, is we are warm and welcoming to everyone, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, our new normality, the ascension age, which is the way we're awakening up our higher consciousness to ascending to higher levels, to the norm of what we think of as a higher power and a source. So I run Teresa J. Morris Ministries because I want to have a 501c3, because I've never made any money all these years, and it's been 9 years. So,
well, now the cissexism or cissexist
what's that?
Is an interesting dynamic now. That's a system of oppression that works on multiple levels to erase, antagonize, and produce social and physical barriers based on one's gender. Specifically, individuals who are not cisgender and or do not identify within the gender binary. Cissexism also depends on a binary of cisgender and transgender, erasing, invalidating the vast spectrum of gender expression and identity. So now we have an example of the sexism is legislation around who can and cannot use gender-specific bathrooms based on their gender expression and or medical or legal gender. E.g., Karen began to recognize her own internalized C-sexism after her child came out as transgender.
What does that mean? I use men's bathrooms when the girls' bathroom is locked. So am I cisgender, cissection, folks? Am I a cissexism? Let's look at this. And I'm trying to be serious about this, but these are words that aren't in my vocabulary, never had to be. And the kids today, the people that made this up, I looked at them, they're all in their early 20s. None of them were even over 30, it didn't appear. But they're working together as a team to help us old guys, I think the entire world, because they came out with this, and I just happened to find it in time for International Pride Month of June. Internationally, June is Pride Month around the world, to open our eyes to being more educated about these terms and the spectrum of the identity of how we talk, or we may talk in the future, it's apparently apparent among the kids going through all this and in these groups, these support groups are meeting at wherever they meet at the local gym or, it's not training, it's support. Or maybe it's training too. Maybe, I don't know how we're going to talk about all this because this was they got a little bit of money to do this from some nonprofit group that had a little money, I guess, for educating. And that's all we've done here for 9 years is educate people. But I've also had spiritual Sundays because I started on a Sunday. But I'd also like science. So I don't know. I'm a little bit of everything. So what do you think, sis? Let's see, sis is...
I think it's interesting. It's just really another way of, this language being another word, I think it's really phenomenal. We have so many words to describe each a person and in their different attributes, I mean,
yeah, it's a whole new language. It's words.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole new language. This is not just words. It's a language.
Wow.
It's gender, privilege, his normative, sexism, and then they have colonialism, and that is a practice of domination which involves the subjugation of one's people to another. So the extent of colonialism impacts on indigenous understandings of gender and attraction will never be truly known due to the ways in which colonialism works to erase or otherwise destroy indigenous life and knowledge, e.g., the new textbooks have colonialized history.
Ah.
Isn't that interesting?
Now, does that mean, like, in history, like us growing up, the reason we never knew about it was probably because of this colonialism, and they hid it. Like in India, they always had he, she, and something else, right? So they would have the something else, let's say, let me talk in American English terms that I can use, folks, because I don't want to offend anybody in radio, television, and the work that I'm in, which is communication. My company is American Communication Online, so I'm trying to be honest that I don't really know how to speak about this because I wasn't educated in all this new language that the children of today in America have put together, this primer language for transgender language, and this is referring to people like we grew up reading about in our history books. So they didn't tell us in the education of books from the UK to America, all the great English-speaking, Australia, wherever you live around the world, the Emirates of, they put people to death if they don't want to identify with their culture. And is that colonialism? Because they don't let people be other than either male or female. It's against the country's rules, colonialized history in textbooks. Is that? How would you speak to that? What do you think this colonialism and gender? Is that what I'm talking about? It being hid in the history? They didn't tell us that people could be other than. It wasn't that it wasn't there. It's just it wasn't in our history books. Melinda, can you speak to that?
Say it again.
Can you speak about this colonialism? It's a domination. See if your brain can understand that.
How to explain it? The colonialism part?
Yeah.
Let me see how I'll try. Basically taking control. The domination, complete domination. The subjugation of one to another. So you're control of someone. And their root of understanding things and the gender and the way things are attracted and that their whole way of seeing things and doing things in this way and mannerism, the colonialism life, whatever you want to call it, it's very different than the others. Because it basically wants to erase or destroy the indigenous life, the memories of that. They don't want you to remember that.
Well,
you
it
see?
says gender, attraction, or race.
Right, because it says here, it says also the essence of colonialism impacts, so what it does on the indigenous understandings of gender and attraction will never be truly known due to the ways in which colonialism works to erase, so it's eradicating or otherwise destroy the indigenous life and I guess the stories and legacy and knowledge. So the next textbooks heavily colonialized history. That's an example.
Well, that's basically what I'm saying is we didn't know about it. In National Geographic, we saw those pictures once of a girl, guy, asexual, and that's was a big aha with National Geographic for the world, is to learn that there were other cultures out there that didn't necessarily look male or female and had all this paint, makeup, whatever you want to say. But, I mean, a lot of kids grew up reading National Geographic and were attracted to it because of the strange people, honestly, they look and feel of who they were. And, you know, you hear in other religions, they don't want you to talk about. They still ban what we used to call, everything used to be called gay. So in the old days, you know, what would that be, 80s, late 80s, when... Oh, there's a lot of not information on your end. Can you mute it? There's some kind of...
Yeah.
There you go. That was...
Hold on one second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. Time until... Let's see. Let me update this. I haven't even watched the show, folks. I only got 32 minutes left. Whew. Long show. 2 hours, I'm getting back into it again. Now that we're pretty much over the time that the plague around the world affected all of us, whether it was real or not, most of us believe that people died of something that came out of a laboratory based in Wuhan, and some laboratory assistants had it a couple of months before, I think China even started telling us we got it around in the fish market over here, you know.
But this whole stuff, the new language that they're using is really, really interesting. I mean,
yes, it is.
It's quite unique. The words, the explanations are really, really interesting.
Well, we could do this some more, folks, but we've only got 30 minutes. Well, Melinda, what else should we discuss about this first brand new beginning, Women's Wednesday's lunch with women? Let's talk a little.
We can talk about a little bit about the pandemic and how we want to encourage people to still rise to the top and do things that they want to do with their lives, and don't let anything stop them and deter them, because the pandemic is here and is here for whatever time, and that's just part of life right now. So, as you know, people are still moving and doing so. If you have hopes and dreams, don't let the pandemic stop you. Don't let anyone stop you. Be encouraged to do things with yourself in your life. If it's losing weight, if it's whatever it is, going to school, getting that education, getting some skills that you don't have, increasing your skills, whatever it is that you may need for a job or to do a task somewhere, So,
right. So, let's talk about us women at home. And now it's going to be not just women. It could be men and women.
Returning to work. There's women returning to work now, and, they need more skills. Some people from a different country speak another language. They might need to write, English. That's very important, So all these different factors and different things that make us unique and different